provides some beautiful advice on how to live hope in facing so much uncertainty and darkness that we see. There are many lights, and it's up to us to see them. Thank you, Luca. We are very happy to have you here with us. Microphone, mic. Good morning to all of you. As Gabriella said, I am Luca Liverani. I'm a journalist. I'm working for more than 30 years in Avvenire newspaper. Many among you were wondering, what does Luca Liverani have to do with the Palatine family? Well, if I'm here, it's sort of a kind invitation of the Vice President, Gabriella Acerbi, of the Union of the Catholic Apostolate, and I've been I'm also in charge of editing the bi-monthly magazine of the Italian Palatine province. And some of you know because I asked you for the articles, but I don't think this is sufficient to justify my presence here as a speaker in this fourth general conference. I must confess that when Gabriella asked me to speak, I myself wondered why is she inviting me to speak? But I think that the reasons are two. So the first one, as Gabriella mentioned, is that in some way I'm also part of the Palatine family. Mine is an informal bond, but at the same time deep, and it dates back in time because it's rooted in my family history. As a child, my father and his brothers and sisters arrived in Rome with his siblings and parents from Veneto, and he went to live close to the Palatine parish church of Regina degli Apostoli. They moved there, and then after World War II, 1948, more or less, my dad's younger brother, my uncle Johnny, discovered his priestly calling precisely in the charism of St. Vincent. Well, the second reason is strictly connected to the theme of this conference. With Christ our hope, we set out again together with joy and courage renewed. You are witness of this, the evangelist who I bear his name, unworthily, Luke. So in these dark and painful moments, marked with deep inequalities between the north and the south of the world, but also in the same developed countries, times of climate change, of wars throughout the world. As a journalist, I can tell you today that among the countless bad news articles I had to write, I could also witness of a lot of elements of hope. Christian, but not only. That I was lucky enough to meet signs that fill you with happiness, people who give us courage to thrive, to change the world, to build a different world, one brick at a time. But let's start with my family connection with the work of Saint Vincenzo Pallotti. Can you show the first picture on this? This is my uncle Gianni. My uncle Gianni, my father's brother. My brother and his two brothers were raised in the faith by practicing in the life of Pallottini parish in Prati, and they have been, ever since they were children, they were part of the Catholic action. Then my uncle Gianni, thanks to the spiritual direction of the Palatine priest, Father Mariano Valentini, he discovered his vocation. He was an intelligent, creative, and lively boy. He wrote songs and poems. He drew portraits of his father with a confident hand. He made sacred statues with clay. In June of 1948, he was preparing for the high school graduation test. Immediately after, he would have carried out his love dream. And he himself wrote a song titled Love Dream to pray for Our Lady. He would have entered into the studentate in the Palatine Fathers in Rocca Prioria immediately after finishing his high school test without even going on vacation. So, an exam that tragically he would never have been able to take because he suffered a problem with intestinal obstruction. and in 3 days of emergency surgery, he died. He wasn't even 18. It was 3 days before his 18th birthday. The funeral took place in the parish of Regina Apostolorum. The death of that young, handsome boy with blonde, curly hair. There's a picture of him as a child. You see, there he is. That was one of the pictures taken in the sacristy of Regina Apostoli Church. Unfortunately, he was so beautiful as a child with his curly hair that he impersonated baby Jesus in the parish nativity scene. This struck the community. Somebody on the church hung, Gianni Liverani has flown to heaven. From the clinic where he dies, the coffin was carried for more than a kilometer to the parish. The other picture, please. There it is. This is the entrance of the coffin in the parish by many youngsters. There's the church, Regina dell'Apostoli Church, with many people, many young people who were carrying the coffin, as you can see. Scouts were there, and many other youngsters who alternated in carrying the coffin. Gianni Liverani, through a very painful and humanly difficult path to understand, he fulfilled his love dream. 3 days before turning 18, God's plan was different from that of this boy. And so, even if he didn't take time to enter the seminary, the Pallottine fathers wanted to welcome him in their tomb at the Verano Monumental Cemetery here in Rome, and his name is on the tombstone among those of many renowned Pallottines. The other reason why I'm here today, as I have just mentioned, is because I can tell you how in my life as a reporter, it happened to me in different and unpredictable contexts to meet wonderful people capable of putting on a light in the darkness of suffering and pain. Men, women, young, old, Christians, Jews, and even non-believers who have sometimes a lot of things to teach us, that we don't always leave our Christian faith in a coherent way. Witnesses of hope, like, for example, those who I met on the life support. Picture, please, life support. Life support is the emergency sea rescue ship. This NGO was founded 30 years ago by a late surgeon, Gino Strada, who died, to help civilians, the wounded victims, and the many wars that blightstain the world. Gino Strada used to say, human rights must belong to all, to each and everyone. If not, you have to call them privileges. Emergency, in fact, does not take care only of the victims of the conflict. In Italy, for example, it offers free health care to homeless, irregular migrants, to the poor. During the pandemic, it handed out food packages to the families who lost their jobs due to lockdown. In the past couple of years, it also is helping to rescue refugees at sea. Our brothers and sisters from Africa and the Middle East, that fleeing wars, violence, and misery, they face the most desperate world, deadliest migrant route, that of the Mediterranean Sea. We know that so far at least 21,000 deaths in this route. And this is what the numbers we have. And others, we don't even know how many died, and we don't even know about it. In November of last year, so that's 2023, I have the fortune to make a great professional and human experience. I embarked on this life support ship for a week-long mission on the Mediterranean. this ship in its first year of activity, since from December 23 to December 22 to December 2023, saved the lives of 1,219 men, women, and children. And on this ship, I met witnesses of hope, like Jonathan, this young blonde Sicilian that you see here on the ship, with his long hair, Jamaican-style dreadlocked braids. He was a team leader. But standing on the bow of the rescue raft, where I was there too that day, he guided the rescue in a dark night of November in the Mediterranean from eastern part of Malta. It was him that in those dramatic moments among terrible waves, he gave indications of how to get close to the ship that had 77 refugees. And 3 days adrift in the middle of the sea. It was Jonathan who decided the moment when his hand stretched out, he would pull those people one at a time on the lifeboat. This is Jonathan. Next slide. Witness of hope on the life support has also been Flavio, this man with a beard on the picture. It looks like the god of the sea. He is a retired Italian Navy officer, always with a smile. He is a seaman who decided to put his experience at the service of saving lives at sea as a volunteer, so he is not paid from emergency, and he is in charge of the operations on the ship's deck. Here, next to Flavio, we have Jonathan, and it's a group of refugees the day after they had been rescued at sea. They're Syrians, those from Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Another witness of hope was Jaime, a young Spanish doctor. This is Flavio, and that night he is allowing from the lifeboat to the ship a youngster. Again, this is Flavio, who greets the refugees. Okay, this is another witness of hope. Is also Jaime, a young Spanish doctor who gently, I remember, treated an Eritrean girl of only 17 years old, who got on the ship. She was petrified. She had also very big, long, curly hair, like most women who arriving in Libya from sub-Saharan countries had suffered violence by human traffickers. I remember that she spent 2 days looking on a stretcher, looking with a stare. She just had this staring. Then slowly, thanks to the patience and tenderness of two cultural mediators, this is Jaime, who is visiting again. This is the ambulance on the ship. Thanks to this patient tenderness of two cultural meditators, Yasin, Eritrean like her. He had arrived in Italy in the same way a couple of years before. And Julia, a young Sicilian who spoke in excellent Arabic. You see her as she's talking to the refugees on the ship. This Eritrean girl, thanks to their help and dedication, she was able to talk and smile. And I remember that when she got off the ship in Brindisi in Italy, at the end of the mission, she gave me the hand, smiling shyly. Witnesses of hope in another dark night were the young people from the Roman parishes and the volunteers of Sant'Egidio community. With them, I shared a walk in the Termini station volunteers among the poorest of the poor, homeless men and women, young and old, foreigners and Italians. They are the bitter fruit of a society that discards human beings, like in the words of Pope Francis. There's no room for them in a productive society. Witnesses of hope, these volunteers, it's been years in their walks in the corners of Italy. They look for those who are simply called friends, to offer them a sandwich, something to drink, a sleeping bag during the winter, but above all, words of affection, closeness, to build human relationships in a laborious attempt to reintegrate these people in society, to offer them a new opportunity of life, a home, a job. This is at the Termini station. This witness of hope was certainly Paolo. You see him in the picture. He is a manager of the Sant'Egidio community. Back then, he was also politically committed as a council member of the Lazio region. Paul VI says the politics is the highest form of charity. Despite his important role in political institution, Paolo every Thursday participated, as he had always done, to meet the poor of the Termini station, and he knew all the names and the stories of each person he visited. And by them, he was recognized as a friend and as a brother. Witness of hope, I met many throughout these people in the multicolored world of pacifist association, as Christians and also as lay, who have been fighting against the nuclear armaments, and the armorists think that last year the states spent over $2,400 billion. I repeat this, $2,400 billion in armies and weapons that are nothing but the tools of death. Tons of money that could be used more effectively to tackle and solve what the United Nations call the Sustainable Development Goals, which, however, there never seems to be enough money. Hunger, disease, illiteracy, gender inequality, climate crisis. No, we would rather invest in war. But there's a people of women and men of goodwill. The picture, please. Here they are at Assisi at the end of the peace march that every 2 years is done. That every single day the people get together, they pressure and policy. They try to build a cultural change. A people that is harassed, often insulted by many newspapers, politicians, unfairly and superficially accused of being allied with dictator Putin or the terrorists of Hamas, just because they believe that war solves nothing, but rather it only makes problems worse. Wars have just made things worse. Let's look at Afghanistan and Syria. Are they better off before the war began? No. Men and women, witnesses of hope, who fight like David against the giant Goliath of the big finance, the armed industries, those industries against which Pope Francis also yesterday spoke. He spoke against them. Witnesses of hope that are capable of organizing large anti-war protests in large squares like this one, and in the meantime to organize caravans of peace to collect help, aid, and to bring them to the bombarded places. They also visited Ukraine. Among these witnesses of hope and peace, this is a rally in San Giovanni Laterano in the Roman Basilica. Say yes to peace. These are youngsters of the Sant'Egidio community. Witnesses of hope, like Francesco, who chairs an important pacifist association network. He has a father of 3 children. One has some serious, one of the children, health problems. But Francesco works strongly and with great expertise to make public opinion know in a documented way how many resources are wasted for purchasing weapons, numbers that I mentioned before. Witness of Hope, I met them in Uganda, in the hospital of Pediatric Surgery Hospital created in 2021, thanks once again to the NGO emergency. You see in the Lake Victoria. And before, the pediatric surgeons for more or less 44 million inhabitants were just four vis-a-vis 44 million inhabitants. Then this hospital of pediatric surgery was built. 80% of the medical staff of this hospital is African because it's also a training center for the doctors and nurses, African doctors and nurses. Witnesses of Hope. This is the reception of the hospital. Witness of Hope, like Dr. Andrea. He had been pediatric surgery at the hospital of head pediatric surgeon in Ferrara. When he retired, instead of enjoying his retirement or perhaps opening a private business in Italy, he decided to manage this hospital, beautiful, eco-sustainable hospital that has been designed free of charge by the international architect Renzo Piano. Come to the operating room, said Dr. Andrea, smiling